Have you ever walked through the garden center at a big box store, seen those lush, vibrant tropical plants, and thought, this is exactly what my living room needs? You bring it home, you find the perfect spot on the bookshelf, and 3 weeks later, it's a skeleton of its former self. I've been there. I remember buying my first fiddle-leaf fig for $60, a huge splurge for me at the time, and watching it drop every single leaf like it was protesting my very existence. I felt like a failure. I thought I had a black thumb. But here's the truth. It wasn't my fault. And if this has happened to you, it's not your fault either. What nobody tells you at the store is that those plants are living in a literal paradise. They've got overhead skylights, industrial humidifiers, and professional growers checking them daily. Then we bring them into our apartments with dry AC air, light that only comes from one side, and drafty windows. It's like taking someone from a tropical spa and dropping them in the middle of a desert. Today, I want to protect you from that frustration and save you some hard-earned money. We're going to talk about the plants that actually want to live in your apartment and the secrets to keeping them happy that the marketing teams conveniently leave out. By the way, if you stay with me, I'm going to share a mini preview of what's coming. We're looking at the big 3 survivors for 2025, plus a common mistake regarding drainage that most people get wrong before they even leave the checkout line. Let's start with a plant that has become the gold standard for apartment living, but is often misunderstood. The ZZ plant, Zamiochus zamiifolia. The ZZ plant is a powerhouse. If you have a dark corner near your TV or a hallway that never sees the sun, this is your best friend. In the industry, they call it indestructible, but even a tank can be taken down if you hit it in the wrong spot. The biggest error I see people making with the ZZ is treating it like a thirsty tropical fern. I once met a neighbor who watered hers every Sunday religiously because that's what the label said. Within a month, the stems were mushy and smelled like a swamp. Here's the protector truth. The ZZ plant grows from these potato-like structures under the soil called rhizomes. These are basically water tanks. If you water it when the soil is still damp, you are literally drowning those tanks. I want to save you the heartbreak of root rot. Here's my finger test for the ZZ. Don't just touch the surface. Stick your finger 2 inches deep into the soil. If you feel even a hint of moisture, walk away. Put the watering can down. In a typical US apartment during the winter, you might only need to water this plant once a month. Yes, really. Another thing they don't mention at Home Depot, the ZZ is a slow grower. Don't panic if it doesn't put out a new leaf for 6 months. It's not dying, it's just being patient. If you want to see some action, move it just a foot closer to a window. Not in the window, but near it. That small adjustment in light intensity can be the difference between a plant that just survives and one that actually thrives. Now, if you have pets, listen closely. The ZZ is toxic if chewed. I have a cat who thinks every leaf is a snack, so I keep my ZZ on a high floating shelf. It's a simple fix that keeps everyone safe. It's about working with your home's reality, not against it. But what happens when you have a plant that looks perfect at the store, but starts leaning like the Tower of Pisa the second you get it home? You know why this happens even when you water correctly? I'll show you the reason in the next part. That leaning effect I just mentioned, it's called phototropism, and it's one of the biggest apartment struggles because our light usually comes from a single window instead of from above like in a greenhouse. I spent years wondering why my plants looked like they were trying to escape through the glass. The fix is so simple it's almost embarrassing. Just give the pot a quarter turn every time you water. It keeps the growth even and prevents that stretching look that makes a plant look weak. Let's move on to a classic that everyone thinks they know, but almost everyone treats incorrectly, the snake plant, Sansevieria. You'll see these in every trendy cafe and office building because they can handle neglect like a champ. But what they tell you at the store is often a half-truth. They say it grows anywhere. Well, it lives anywhere, but it only grows where there's light. If you stick it in a windowless bathroom, it's going to sit there like a plastic statue until it eventually gives up the ghost. I learned this the hard way with a beautiful variegated snake plant I bought at a local nursery in Ohio during a gray January. I put it in a dark corner, and it stayed exactly the same size for 2 years. I thought I was doing great. Then I moved it to a spot near a south-facing window with some sheer curtains, and within 3 months it sent up 3 new pups. It was a validator moment for me. I realized I wasn't a bad gardener, I was just starving my plant of its primary food, light. Here is a practical today action for your snake plant. Check the soil. Most people keep them in the heavy, peat-based soil they come in from the store. That soil is designed to stay wet so the plants don't dry out during shipping. But in your cool apartment, it's a death sentence. If your soil feels like a heavy sponge that stays wet for 2 weeks, go get a bag of cactus or succulent mix. Your snake plant needs to breathe. Think of it like this: it wants its feet to be dry. If you leave it in soggy soil, the base will turn yellow and mushy, and at that point, it's very hard to rescue. And speaking of rescuing, let's talk about the Pothos. It's the gateway drug of houseplants. It's cheap, it's everywhere, and it trails beautifully down a bookshelf. But have you noticed yours getting leggy? That's when you have a long vine with only 1 or 2 leaves at the very end. It looks sad, like a balding man trying a comb-over. The common mistake here is thinking that more water will fix those bald spots. It won't. In fact, overwatering a leggy pothos is the fastest way to kill it. The truth is that legginess is a cry for light. If the spaces between the leaves, the nodes, are getting longer and longer, your plant is literally reaching for the window. I want to save you the frustration of a spindly plant. The fix? Give it a haircut. Don't be afraid. Snipping off those long, leafless vines encourages the plant to push out new, bushier growth from the top. Plus, you can take those cuttings, put them in a glass of water on your kitchen windowsill, and you'll have new roots in 2 weeks. It's free plants for life. I remember my first pothos lived on top of my refrigerator. It was fine for a while, but the heat from the fridge motor, combined with the lack of light, turned it into a yellowing mess. I felt terrible, thinking I couldn't even keep a beginner plant alive. But once I moved it to the top of a cabinet near a window and stopped watering it until the leaves started to slightly wilt, a trick I call the thirst signal, it took off. And heads up, there's a simple mistake that makes this plant stop blooming or lose its color variegation entirely. If you bought a pothos with beautiful white or yellow splashes and it's turning solid green, I'll show you how to avoid that and bring the color back in just a moment. The reason those beautiful white and yellow patterns, what we call variegation, start to disappear from your pothos or philodendron is actually a survival tactic. The plant is thinking, I'm not getting enough light to eat, so I need more green surface area to catch every single ray I can find. It's basically turning up its solar panels. If you want those bright colors back, you have to move it to a brighter spot. It's the plant's way of talking to you, and once you learn to read those leaves, you'll never feel like you're guessing again. Now, let's talk about the showcase trap of the century, the fiddle leaf fig, Ficus lyrata. You've seen them in every interior design magazine and high-end condo ad. They look stunning with those massive violin-shaped leaves, but let me be the protector here. For a beginner in an apartment, this plant is often an expensive heartbreak. I've spent more money on fiddle leaf figs than I care to admit, only to watch them drop leaves the second I turned the AC on, or moved them 3 inches to the left. The funny thing is, the problem is almost never the plant itself, it's the pot and the environment. These plants are native to West African rainforests. They want consistency. In an American apartment, we have microclimates. Your drafty window in a Chicago winter is a death zone for a fiddle leaf. Your heater vent in a New York studio is a leaf scorcher. If you must have one, place it in the brightest spot you have, away from any vents. And this is the golden rule: stop moving it. Once it adjusts to a corner, leave it there. Every time you move it, the plant goes into a stress tantrum and drops leaves to save energy. If you're looking for that big leaf look without the high-maintenance drama, I always suggest the Monstera deliciosa. It's much more forgiving of apartment life. It can handle lower light than the fiddle leaf, and it doesn't throw a fit if you open a window. However, there's a blind spot with Monsteras: the size. These plants are climbers. In the wild, they use aerial roots to grab onto trees. In your apartment, if you don't give it a moss pole or a sturdy stake, it's going to start crawling across your floor and taking over your living space. I remember a subscriber once emailed me panicked because her monstera was growing weird brown sticks out of the stems. She thought it was a parasite. I had to laugh, gently of course, and tell her those are just aerial roots. They're a sign of a healthy, happy plant. Instead of cutting them off, try to tuck them back into the soil or let them wrap around a pole. It makes the plant feel secure, and that's when you get those huge, iconic holes in the leaves, which are actually called fenestrations. But what about the unkillable plants that people still manage to kill? I'm talking about succulents like aloe vera or echeveria. These are the biggest money wasters for apartment gardeners. We buy them because they're small and cute, and we put them on a coffee table. Within a week, they look stretched out and pale. The mistake here is the budget and peace killer, light. Most succulents need 6 hours of direct sun. Unless you have a massive south-facing window with no trees outside, your apartment probably isn't bright enough for a desert cactus. If you love the look but don't have the light, go for a haworthia or a gasteria. They look like succulents, but they actually prefer the indirect light found in most apartments. If you only remember one thing from this section, let it be this. Don't buy a plant for the spot you have, buy a plant for the light you actually get. Coming up, I'll give you the 10-second rule that prevents 80% of plant deaths and a simple 7-day plan to get your apartment garden on track. The 10-second rule is something I wish someone had told me years ago. Before you water any plant in your apartment, pick up the pot. If it feels heavy, put it back down. If it feels surprisingly light, like it's filled with feathers, that's when you take it to the sink. This weight test is far more accurate than any expensive moisture meter you'll find online, because it tells you exactly what's happening at the very bottom of the pot, where the roots live. As we wrap up, I want to give you a budget and peace checklist for your next trip to the store. First, look at the bottom of the nursery pot. If you see roots circling the outside or coming out of the holes like crazy, that plant has been there too long. It's root-bound, and it's going to be stressed the moment you get it home. Second, check the soil it's in. If it's hard as a brick, it's probably old peat that won't even absorb water anymore. I've made all these mistakes, buying the pretty plant in the back of the shelf, ignoring the drainage holes, and thinking a $100 fiddle leaf fig would somehow love my dark bedroom. But I don't repeat those anymore, and you don't have to either. Your journey in apartment gardening isn't about having a perfect Instagram home. It's about the peace that comes from watching something grow under your care. If you're feeling overwhelmed, here is your simple 7-day plan. Day 1. Walk through your apartment at noon and see where the sun actually hits the floor. Day 3. Check the weight of every pot you own. Day 7. Clean the dust off your leaves with a damp cloth. Dust blocks light, and in an apartment, light is gold. You don't have a black thumb, you might just have a low-light apartment or some bad advice from a marketing tag. Stick to the ZZ plants and the snake plants for those tough corners, and save the showcase plants for when you've mastered the basics. If you found this helpful, there's a video appearing right now on the screen that goes even deeper into the soil secret that most nurseries hide. It's the perfect next step to make sure your apartment stays green all year round. Grow with patience, grow with knowledge, grow with love. See you next time!